Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you my money pick show for the Memorial Tournament. And first off, thank you for stopping by. Of course, I'm going to go over my top 15 picks from a DFS perspective. And from a betting perspective, I'll give you my 3 favorite bets. And then, of course, all the analysis and research that I've done to come up with this information. So let's jump into this. First off, of course, I do have another giveaway. It is for the upcoming U.S. Open at Torrey Pines. And what I am giving away is 5 entries into the $100 entry Millie Maker. All you need to do to get in this is subscribe now if you're not a subscriber. If you are a subscriber, of course, just tell me who do you think is going to win the U.S. Open below in the YouTube comments. And then what I will do a couple weeks out, on June 9th, I will announce the winners. And it is randomly generated, kind of spinny wheel thing that goes around, and we'll pick. I put all the people that give me their comments and throw you guys in there and pick the 5 winners. If for whatever reason and somehow possible I get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to double that and give away actually 10 winners. So definitely subscribe. If you're not subscribed, tell me who's going to win the U.S. Open and like this video, and you are in the drawing. Okay. If you missed my preview show, I just go over real quick the skill ranks that I'm looking for the guys that I'm selecting and kind of rank them kind of 1 through 10 here, as you can kind of see. First off, approach, greens and reg is the #1 thing that shows up when you're playing at Jack's Place at Murfield Village. Also, ball striking, putting, driving distance with fairways. I've kind of changed that a little. More just kind of looking at guys that are hitting fairways and regs because of the rough being so penal. Around the green and sand saves, I think, is key. The proximity to the pin that is showing up, 175 to 200 is probably the most important, heavily weighted. And then moving down to the 150, 175. You've got 6 par 4s from 450 to 500 that we have to take into consideration. Got to be able to manage those, get your pars. There's a couple par 3s that are probably a little more, I want to say gettable, but possibly to get a little closer for a birdie. But there's a couple longer par 3s that you're going to have to make sure you try to get your pars. And then, of course, you got to make your hay on the gettable par 5s. There's 4 of them between 530 and 560. This took a little bit of work trying to figure out what I was going to go with on the comp courses. There's just not a lot of bent grass greens that guys... the PGA Tour plays on a regular basis. They're tougher to maintain, first off, but also it seems like they're kind of more of a Midwest grass that can take the colder weather, and where the PGA typically plays is in warmer climates. So long story short, this took me a bit to come up with this. So what I'm going to be leveraging, I think the API, which of course is a Bermuda grass, but from a distance and water and playability, I think there's a lot of applicability there. There was actually 2 events, funny enough, that were both titled Workday, right? You had the Workday, of course, previously last year, right before the Memorial. So that's at Murphy Village. That's a no shocker to look at that one. But there is also the WGC that we had recently at Concession. It's a Jack Nicklaus design course. Also some playability, but it's a Bermuda grass. But again, I think there's a lot of crossover there. The one that I did to do a little digging and came up was the one event that they played at Shadow Creek in Las Vegas. Of course, that's where Kokrak played. If Kokrak was in this field, he'd be one of my favorites to win outright. Just local guy, playing great golf. The course fits him. Again, kind of shocked that he didn't kind of change his schedule around, but it is what it is. Also, him coming off a win, you know, there's the old narrative of can you go back to back? That could be a little tough. But anyways, that is a par 72. About 7,500 yards, if I remember correctly, but it is bent greens. There was also, you know, kind of wider fairways, but if you got off the fairways, there was trouble. So I think there's some applicability there. The players, again, I think just from a playability, and it seems like the guys that have done well at the players have done well here. Now, if you look at green types and length of course and par, there's not, but from a playability, I think there's some crossover. Then you got the Farmers Open, of course, where the U.S. Open is going to be played at Torrey Pines. You've got the North and the South, almost, I don't want to say 2 total different courses, but you got different green types, right? The North is a bent. The South is POA. You've also got quite a difference in how they play as a scoring average, and you also got quite a difference in yardage. where the South course plays around 7,700 yards, the North plays around 7,200 yards. But overall, if you kind of combine, I think there's some playability, applicability there. And then the 3 Open where they play at TPC Twin Cities, it's bent greens. It's a par 71, but around 7,400 yards. So those were where I actually ended up going with, and the courses that I'm going to compare against when I'm picking the guys or doing my analysis and showing you, just to give you guys a heads up. Also, just, typically when we play Pete Dye, I like to pull this up, but I also said, hey, there's quite a few Nicklaus design courses out there. Let's just see how, some of the field's done over the last last 3 tournaments or 12 rounds they played. This is going to look at bringing up the Honda. This could bring up the workday we just talked about, a concession. But just to give you some idea, and when you just pull up the last 12 rounds that these guys played on a Nicklaus course, no shocker that Kawa pops up number 1. Russ Henley's interesting. You got JT. The Gooch, who I'm pretty high on this week. He pops up there. You got Aaron Wise, also I'm pretty interested in. You got Troy Merritt, who had an amazing Sunday and a good tournament at the Charles Schwab. Now, that is a bent grass green, but it's a different. There's some playability things we could look at from even how the rough kind of played there, and even not too far off on the distance side. So I didn't plug into Charles Schwab, but we also got to keep that in mind when we go through this. So maybe I'll look at that also. Okay, let's jump into the analysis, and then I will summarize my picks for you guys and the bets. Okay, so jumping over to Fantasy National, as I've always mentioned, it is a great research tool if you guys like to do your own research, but I will kind of go over what I'm doing. So this kind of gives you the sneak peek kind of view. It pulls up what I create as a 5-stroke category, so it's kind of a slim down model. Then I always pick like the number 1 thing I think that they need to do well to be successful at this course, and that's gaining strokes on those 4 gettable par 5s. And then over here to the right, you got recent results and tournament history. So kind of in a quick snapshot, you get to see quite a bit that you want. And so I'm going to kind of work through this. And so right off the bat, the first 4 top guys, most expensive guys, I'm actually not going with. And you could really find chink in armor on a lot of these guys. But of course, Jordan, first off, most expensive price. I talked about this at the Charles Schwab. I typically don't go with the most expensive guy. It just seems more than not that it kind of fails, and also really hinders how you build your lineups. Also, to see him kind of go back to the Jordan-esque of kind of falling apart on the weekend. Now, it could be a one-time little hiccup. It also could be a trend that I hope we don't see, that he starts to go back into. But long and short, he wasn't trusting his swing. And that on a course that he's had a ton of success, and when you had the lead, as he did, it's making me nervous, and that's the end of it. If you want to know why I'm not going with Spieth, that's it. Could he come out and have again an amazing tournament? Sure, no problem. He's had, even you could look at his tournament history here. He's had a miscut, but even when he wasn't at his best in 2020 and 2019, he had good finishes. So you can make from a tournament history perspective or narrative that. There's good reasons. But again, I can't pay 11-3 for Jordan Spieth watching what happened on Saturday, Sunday at a course that he should be super comfortable. So now I got to kind of see again, from my eyes, is he, back to trusting his swing and hitting the approach shots and doing the things he needs to do. So that's going to have to work itself out. Jon Rahm, of course, past winner here. So he's got a miscut, past winner. Is an elite golfer. You can see that, he's had a little bit of hiccups since the Masters. Again, I've talked about this in the past. There's a few things that are bothering me with Jon Rahm right now. Of course, he had a kid. I don't think he's been able to spend as much time or want to spend as much time practicing. The putter's been off for quite a while, and his confidence with the putter. Of course, if that clicks, he's going to do well. There's just, and then also, he seems like he's been getting agitated. And maybe it's just more and more that I've been watching him or getting to see a coverage. And once he gets agitated, it just seems like his game starts to go a little sideways. So, again, for the second highest priced guy, I'm going to be passing on him. DeChambeau was someone that I was pretty close to thinking I was going to, be rostering. But the approach has just been so off. You can see what he's been doing on par 5s over the last 12 rounds. So last 3 tournaments, he's, not gaining the strokes he needs to be gaining. And you can kind of even see what his recent results, the Byron Nelson, come on. TPC Craig Ranch, you have a T55. The PGA tournament, and a lot of places where I thought he would do very well. It's just not transparent. Now, again, I think he should do well here. There's some length. You have the rough. And I've always said when you have the kind of combination of the high rough and not crazy length, but, 7,500 yards. But I just can't do it with how much I know with this course that you have to be good on approach. It's just so far off right now. So he's ranked 91 out of 120 players over the last 3 tournaments, pretty much. So again, that's my cheek in the arm on passing. Rory, we had the win at the Wells Fargo. We all kind of thought, Rory's back. And then, the PGA, you started to see where I actually, I don't believe I'd have picked Rory for the PGA because, I know I didn't because I simply stated I have to see more. And again, kind of the same thing. I just had to see more. I mean, the putter's been, of course, you can see bad. But over his last, he's not gaining on the par 5s like I want. So there's just some chinks in the armor with Rory right now. Again, elite player. You can see his tournament history here. I mean, recently, a miscut, a T32, but before that, great tournament history. Of course, he had the miscut at the Players, at the Masters tournament, then he wins, and then a T49. So kind of Jekyll and Hyde right now. And I just got to kind of wait and see. I'm going to go with guys that I know fit the course and have been proving time and time again good results. Okay. So the first guy that I'm starting at is Collin Morikawa. Elite tee to green, best approach player. It all just comes down to the putter. Plain and simple, Morikawa. You can see, he's gaining some strokes on the par 5. Had a nice weekend at the Charles Schwab. Decent at the PGA, the RBC. So just things are trending. It's all just going to come down with Morikawa with the putter. If we want to go look at some of the comparable courses, I will pull that up as we speak. So if we look at the Arnold Palmer, the API in 2020, he had a 9th. If we look at, of course, the Workday, which comes up as a one-time event, and he won that in the playoff against Justin, so probably didn't really pull that up. But for people that maybe the WGC Mexico, which was at concession, he won that Jack Nicklaus course. The Farmers, he had a 21st recently. Don't know if he's ever played the 3M Open. He did in 2019, had a 2nd. The Players, he had a 41st. And then the CJ Cup, he had a 12th. And the previous CJ Cup, of course, was over in Asia. This is the one we're looking at right here, the 2020. So everything that I want to see, and actually if you look over his career, bent grass has been his least best surface, if you want to put it that way. So like everything I see on Morikawa, and that's where I'll be starting my lineups. Okay, Justin Thomas. So, I've been out on Justin Thomas for a bit, but I actually have seen quite a bit of good signs from Justin. I think we're getting a pretty decent price for JT due to kind of his recent kind of issues. But if you looked at the Charles Schwab round by round stroke gain analysis, he's actually improving in everywhere I want to see. He actually gained strokes with the putter. If we go look at Justin just real quickly, of course, he won the Players, so we don't really need to look at that. But if we even look at just what I was kind of discussing, so he's gaining tee to green, gaining off the tee, gaining on approach, and he's gaining again with the putter. That's the key thing that I was waiting to see. You can see where the issues kind of creeped in here at the Wells Fargo and the Valspar, where it got really bad. If we look at the Workday, if I spelled it right, of course he came in 2nd. If we look at the WGC Mexico, he came at 15th. I don't know about the 3M, if he ever played that. What about the Farmers? That's odd. He hasn't played the Farmers in quite a while. And the last one, we can look at the CJ Cup. He had a 12th in 2020. So everything I'm seeing, and even I believe it's bit grass at the CJ Cup where they typically played it over in Asia. But neither here or there. He's had a win there. And you can see bent grass is his favorite surface by far. Everything I'm seeing is telling me, and you can see he has been still gaining the strokes on the par 5. I like the trend that Justin actually put a bet on him outright. I think it was 14-1, something like that. You might find a better price. So that was on DraftKings. But yeah, I like JT. Of course, Victor. You're going to kind of see that again. I'm back to the ball strikers, the guys that know they're going to give us opportunities, birdie opportunities. But he's been just elite on everything that I'm looking for. You can see the putter against this field is ranked 8th. It's been doing well. Good recent form. You know, he's only played here once before. That was a T48. But if we go jump in and kind of just look at some of the comparable courses that I wanted to look at, also from a putting perspective, you can see bent grass is his favorite surface. We look at the workday, he came in 3rd at Muirfield Village. If we look at the WGC Mexico, he came in 2nd and had that one blow up disastrous hole, or could have won that thing. Let's see about Arnold Palmer. He had a 49th there recently. What about the Farmers? He came in 2nd against when Patrick Reed won there. The 3M, he had a 13th. That was in 2019. What about the Players? Recently miscut recently at the Players, but that will tend to happen. That is a tournament. And then the CJ Cup, he had a 12th, which was somewhat recent. So anyways, I like Victor. So those are kind of my top 3 guys that I'm leaning towards. And then Patrick Cantlay, another guy that I've been out on. Some risk factors here, but again, I've seen a lot at the PGA that looks like maybe Patrick is kind of coming out of his hump. The putter was a disaster with him. He's still, elite tee to green. Getting back to starting to gain on the par 5s, as you can see. If we go over to Patrick, and a little bit of this is course history, but you can also see he, putts best on bent grass. And he's just got that relationship with Jack, who kind of pulled him aside a while ago and just said, hey, enjoy it. Don't take everything so serious. And it just kind of seems since then that when he comes to play here that he really shines. So if we go look at the workday, he had a 7th at Muirfield. If we look at the Memorial, of course, he won it in 2019. He had a 4th, a 32nd, recently. But, of course, that was crazy windy conditions. Never played Arnold Palmer. WGC Mexico. He did not play the one at the concession. That's 2019. What about the 3M? Never played. A lot of guys haven't played that. The Players had a miscut recently, but 2 miscuts, and then he had a 23rd and 22nd. So what about the CJ Cup? He had a 38th. So I'm kind of going on a hope that Patrick is back to being where he was. And again, I've seen quite a bit at the PGA to show me that. Hideki, again, just elite tee to green. His last best putting expose I've ever seen was on bent grass at Augusta. I was going to look at the Masters, but it's just quite a few of these guys aren't going to show up who's not been in the Masters. We just don't have the stroke gain data for that. We can see their positioning. But you can see gaining a lot on the par 5s. And it just all comes down to Hideki with a putter. And on that, I'm going on that, fast greens, lightning greens are what we're going to be playing here at Muirfield Village. They're bent. And with all that said, he had a great showing there. So I'm going to stick with the hope that keeps on trucking. We look at the Arnold Palmer, an 18th recently. We look at the workday. He had a 22nd. If we look at WGC Mexico, he had a 15th. Let's see how he did at the Farmers, if I could spell. He had a 53rd, but a 3rd back in 2019. What about the 3M? He had a 7th. That was back in 2019. The Players, he miscut, like a lot of the guys did up top there. And the CJ Cup, he had a 21st. So, again, a little different for me. But, again, I'm looking for the elite ball strikers here. Guys that are going to keep it in play, get it on the greens, and give themselves chances. And also have a good showing. Corey fits that build. But Corey's been in a bad kind of recent trend with his putter. And so you can kind of see he had that stretch here where he was gaining with the putter. And then all of a sudden it just started to go back to, falling apart. Again, elite tee to green, around the green, and and putting is what's been hurting him. So I'm going to be off on Corey at this time. Tony Finau just has done well at this event and, is firing on all the cylinders I want, again, except for the putter. but is gaining again on the par fives. And if we go look at some of his comparables, and also bent is his best surface, but it's not gaining much, but it is his best putting surface. So I hope that also comes into play. Arnold Palmer, he had a miscut recently. If we look at the workday, he didn't play at the workday. Thought he did. WGC Mexico, that's the one at concession. He had a 14th. What about the Farmers? He had a 2nd recently and a 6th before that. Also someone to look at for the U.S. Open. The 3M, he had a 3rd. And then the Players, he had a miscut and a 22nd before that. And then the CJ Cup, he had a 26, but that doesn't count. That was the one over in Asia. So anyways, I like Tony. Hopefully the putter gets going. You can make a case for Patrick Reed. His tee to green has been so bad. Around the green, it hasn't been where it was. And the putter has been, kind of back and forth. So that's me for Patrick Reed. And you can see some of his results are showing that. Scotty Scheffler, again, nothing. I mean, not even so much about that he missed, the cut at the Charles Schwab. You can see his par 5 is kind of dipping. You see everything's kind of in a yellow tint, really doing nothing elite right now. So I'm off on him. This is the one, I'm a big Sam Burns fan. Of course, he had the win at the Valspar, and then a 2nd at Byron Nelson. And then at the PGA, he just totally hosed me. And after 5 holes, I don't know if that's day 1 or day 2. I think it was day 1, I think, he pulled out. But you can see the guy is just crushing the par 5s, crushing every stat category I want. You can see Bermuda is definitely his best surface by far, but he's a good putter all around. If we go pull up some of the comparable things, he miscut the Arnold Palmer recently at Bay Hill, but had a 36 before that. He had a 17th at the workday at concession. The WGC, the workday was at Murfield, and the WGC Mexico he did not play. About the Farmers, he had an 18th. The 3M, he had a 32nd. What about the Players? He miscut 2, boys. Amazing. All these guys pretty much. He did not play at the CJ Cup, it looks like, at Shadow Creek. So if I had to give out of all of them, everything I know about his game right now and everything, funny enough, he had a withdrawal in 2019 here too. But his ownership's low right now because he burned a lot of people. But I'm on him. I'm going to try him one more. Hope that we don't have the issue. Joaquin Niemann I looked at, just couldn't make it fit because I actually like some guys in the lower 7,000s that I'm putting in my top 15, which, I don't typically do that, but it's just the way I'm going. So, you can make a good case for Fitzy. All 3 of these guys, of course, I've been all over Cameron Smith. I'm just kind of out on these 3. I've got some other guys I want to play. Louis, it's just been playing crazy, as you can see his recent results. Tough course, has had some success here. If we go look at some of the comparables that we've been looking at, see the Arnold Palmer, he missed a couple, that was a while ago. What about the workday? He had a 65th. What about WGC Mexico? He had a 6. If we look at the Farmers, a 29th, the 3M, he did not play. What about the Players? He had a 41st. At least he made the cut. And the CJ Cup, he had a 48th. So this is a lot of recent form. We just got to hope that he just keeps producing and, gets us up there with hopefully a top 10, top 15. Shane Lowry I looked at too. Again, someone, that looks good from the model. Has had some good recent results. But I'm going to stick with Charlie Hoffman on this one. The guy's just been in fuego. I hope that stays, I guess is the simplest way to put it. His approach game's just been ridiculously elite. If we look at this right here, gaining 8 strokes, almost 7 strokes, 6 strokes, 7, and if he gains with a putter, he is going to be live. And of course, off the tee, I don't really need a whole lot. I just need him in play. If I get the Arnold Palmer, he had a 10th recently. If I look at the workday, he had a 7th. I look at the WGC Mexico. That's not the one I want, so we're not going to count that. About 3M. He had a miscut there. What about the players? He had a 17th. And the CJ Cuppy, that doesn't count, so I'm not going to call that one. But yeah, Charlie's just been in amazing form, so I'm going to stick with it until I see. Sun JM's just been so Jekyll or Hyde, as you can literally see. It's, you know, a T13, a T29, a cut, a T17, a cut. So this could be his week, but the approach has just been so off. Barely, you know, not doing enough on the par fives for me for that price tag. So I'm out on him. Billy Horschel, just, you know, been playing solid golf, good putter. Typically could hit the fairways. You can see, you know, making cuts, getting into 20s. You know, has some decent results here. So it's either almost like a top 15 or better or a cut. We go look at Billy. He also, I know already off the top of my head, of course, gains on bent. But what I was going with it was he also had a really good showing at the WGC Mexico, right? So he came in second. That was that concession. Almost won that thing. Let's see. If you look at Arnold Palmer, he had a miscut. What about the workday? He had a 7th. The Farmers miscut recently, but an 8th and a prior. What about the 3M Open? He did not play either. The players, he had a 58th, but hey, he made the cut. And the CJ Cup, he had a 28. So I like Billy Ho. I'm going to stick with him. And then, of course, Keegan, my model, everything, loves Keegan. Of course, it always just comes down to putter. You know, he's had really good recent results, right? Just came behind Sam Burns at the Valspar. Kind of like on and off with Keegan. If we pull up Keegan's info, funny enough, bent is his best surface. Again, he's not gaining against the field on any of them, but where he does the best typically is bent grass. And I just want to pull up the Memorial real quick. Because he's got quite, so he's got a couple 8th places, a 23rd. So yeah, he's gotten around this track pretty good. Arnold Palmer, he had a 10th recently. If we look at the workday, he had a 39th at WGC Mexico. He did not play. What about the Farmers? He had a 16th. 3M. He had a 46th, but that's a couple years ago. How did he do at the Players? He had a 29th at the Players. And at the CJ Cup, he had a 42nd. So, sticking with Keegan. Again, it's going to come down to putter. You know, Ricky's had, of course, some success at this course. He showed a little bit of life at the PGA. I think that T8 is a little inflated just because of how many, you know, some of the guys that fell really back. But you can make a case for playing Ricky here. He's also done well at Torrey Pines. On those greens. So there's another kind of sticking point. Gary Woodland's been showing good form. You can see he's doing the things that I like. I just watched Gary miss too many easy putts. And is just that's the simplest reason why I'm out on Gary. Adam Scott's just not where he used to be. And you can see, you know, just the ball striking, everything. He can get a hot putter. It can happen. And if he gets the tee to green stuff fixed up, he could be, you know, doing well. Bubba just out on from approach side, but of course you can see, you know, he's had some decent results here. Leishman, you know, good putter. Kind of been out back and forth, but the ball striking is not where it's at. I'm going to stick with Griot. Again, he's been elite tee to green, a little bit off the tee. He was a little sporadic the last couple of times. Let's go look at that real quick. That's the one thing I do remember. So bent is actually the one positive putting surface he has, so that's a small part of it. But you can see off the tee, for whatever reason, over the last 3, it's getting better to some degree compared to that Wells Fargo. But typically, you know, off the tee, he gains strokes. So hopefully he gets that figured out. Approach, he's been amazingly solid, and the putter's been, you know, gaining. So if he can just get the off tee, you know, hit some fairways, I think we're going to be good to go. And we want to look at some of his comparables. Arnold Palmer, he had a 21st. What about the workday? He had a 20. He had a miscut. That's what he had there. WGC Mexico, that wasn't the one I was looking for. What about the Farmers? Miscut recently. You played at the 3M. Yeah, played at the 3M recently at Twin Cities. He had a 3rd place there, so that was good. The Players, miscut. What about the CJ Cup? He had a, well, nope, not the CJ Cup I was looking for. Okay, but I'm going to stick with Griot and hope that he just starts hitting some more fairways. Jason Day, funny enough, could be a play that I might plug him in a couple lineups. I'm going to see where his ownership comes in. Of course, local, I have to think that he plays here quite a bit when he does play. I have such mixed feelings on Jason Day. Of course, he was a guy that I loved to play back, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. The putter is just not where it's been. But funny enough, if we go look at Jason Day, just so you guys can see, he gains over his career a little bit on bent. POA has been his best surface. But the putter has just been, south. And when he had that little bit of run, we go back here, right back in August, where he, had the 7th at the Memorial or at the Workday that we've been talking about. Then he came out with a 4th at Memorial, had a 6th at W. He had that nice run, and you could see everything was kind of clicking. And then he had a run where nothing was clicking pretty much. And if we look at recently, he's got a bunch of miscuts, and it's been the putter. The approach has been off the tee has been kind of but if he gets that putter fixed out, could be live. So again, he might be someone that, depending on where his ownership comes in, for that price tag, might not be a bad play. Kind of gonna skip over these guys. Just Sink actually from my model perspective looks really good. And again, not that I'm not gonna play any of these guys from a DFS perspective. They're just not my top kind of core group guys I'm looking at. Patty Kazire is the next guy I'm going at 7,300. I think it's a great price, especially for what he's been doing. He's a great putter. Of course he's had mixed bag of results at this course, but you got it. I'm a big fan of recent form. Gains on bent. You can see what he's been doing on approach. Gaining a bunch of strokes on approach. Off the tee, not as concerning. You can see he gained at the Charles Schwab. So as long as he just hits some fairways, the putter is typically his weapon. Oh, you know what? Let's pull up some of his comparables while we got him. Sorry about that. So if we look at the Arnold Palmer, he had a 57th. Let's see what he did at the Workday. He missed a cut at the Workday. What about WGC Mexico? That's not the one I want. What about the 3M? He had a 46. What about the Players? He had a 35th. And I don't know if he played in the CJ Cup. Nope, not the one I want. So again, a lot of this is on recent form, and hope that he just keeps on trucking. Out on Kim with the withdrawal after he went in and it rained, and then he just said, no, I'm not going back out to golf. But, could be live. Chris Kirk's game's been kind of falling apart out on him. Glover could be a good play from a DFS perspective, just not who I'm looking at. Russ Henley actually shows up quite a bit on some of this, the Memorial and stuff. Great approach, but his driver's been off and his putter's been off, so I'm kind of out on him. And a long story short, I'm going to kind of cruise down to these two guys that I am on. Taylor Gooch and Aaron Wise. You can see from everything, from a cost perspective, I think they're great values. And if we go look at Taylor Gooch, now if you just look at, their tournament history here has not been good. But if we look at some of the comparables and more recent, Gooch gains on bent. And if we plug in the Arnold Palmer, he had a 43rd recently. The Workday, he had a 17th, again at Murphyfield Village. And then at the WGC, I thought the WGC Mexico played it. Maybe it was the Farmers I was looking at. Farmers, he had a 48th. About the 3M, he had an 18th at the 3M. The Players, he had a 5th place finish. And then the CJ Cup, he had a 5th. So there's some things there that I'm piecing together that I like. Just for whatever reasoning, he's, everything I keep seeing, he's also, from a results perspective, getting kind of back on, the results that I want to see. Yeah. And like I said, he gains on bent. And then Wise, kind of funny enough, heard a couple different interviews with Aaron Wise, and it was kind of interesting where he went through some swing changes, kind of, lost his way a little bit with the putter, but that's coming back now. And he's, recent results, we've been seeing a lot of positives from him. And I like the play here. I think for the price tag, if you can plug him in, and you can see, he gained 3.5 strokes here at the PGA. So that's all positive. And typically, it's not the tee to green that's so much an issue. It's what he does with the putter. Let's pull up some of his comparables. So Arnold Palmer, he had a miscut recently. What about the workday miscut there? And it's not going to shock me. He had quite a few miscuts. WGC miscut, not the one that I want. What about the Farmers? Not the recent one. Trying to see if there's anything here with the players. He made the cut, 65th. What about the CJ Cup? He didn't play. So yeah, you can kind of say from a comparable side, it's just everything I know about what Aaron Wise has been doing. I think it's a great value. Both these guys at this price tag I'm on. Okay, that's it from the research and analysis side and my thoughts from a DFS perspective. Let's go summarize this and talk about my favorite bets. Okay, so my Fab Five, my top 5 plays are going to be, I like JT. I'm looking for, he's been coming back. I think, even from a betting perspective, I put a bet on him. I think it's 14-1 or something like that, 18-1. It's not a great odds, but for JT odds, it's pretty good. I think his game is coming back, and he's had success here, and of course at at the workday event at the same course. You got Tony Finau plays here well, and all the other areas that I like. So I'm on Tony this week. Cantlay, I'm hoping it's all back to where it is. Of course, great course history, elite tee to green. If he just does what Patrick Cantlay can do, and the putter's back, and he's got some confidence, we're good there. You got Morikawa. It's kind of funny if you look at all these guys. It's all about the putter across the board. All good tee to green. With Victor Hovland, and he's actually been putting well. So that's my top 5 guys. If they have just a decent putting round with how they hit the ball tee to green, it could be top 5 or better. My next 5, of course, Hideki putted well on lightning fast bent greens and just elite tee to green. So sticking with Hideki on that. Sam Burns, this is kind of I always have my volatile pick. We'll see how he comes out. Of course, I don't even know if I guess he stated back. I don't know, but I think it's BS. I think he just, hopefully he comes out here with a different mindset, comes out and wants to win. If he does, his game's been amazing. You got Louis just been kicking butt, and as long as the putter stays there, I don't see no reason why he can't top 15. Aaron Wise, I already talked about just recently, and of course, even Gooch. So I've got these guys as my next 5, which typically you wouldn't think that, but that's where I think these guys could finish this week. Then my last 5, we're going to stick with the Hoff. Horschel, we got Patty Kazire, we got Grillo, and Keegan Bradley. So there's some chinks in these armors here, but all been in good recent form, all good ball strikers. It's all different, right? You got Patty Kazire, who little issues off the tee, but he's been elite with the putter. Grillo, we need the putter to keep going. Keegan, we need you to stay steady for 4 rounds. Don't go full Keegan. Hoffman, just keep doing what you're doing. Just hit maybe a few more fairways. And then Billy Ho, just again, not the quick swing. So that's it for my top 15 DFS plays. And then for my favorite bets, first round leader, I got Aaron Wise, 91. I like that bet a lot. He's had some real low first rounds recently, so I think it's a good play. Same with Patty Kazire. He's had those low 60s. It might not be the first round, but it's typically one of the rounds. But I like him as a first round leader at 90-1, both of those. And then last, my kind of dark horse long shot to win this thing could be Taylor Gooch, 100-1. So that's my favorite bets. And that's it. Thanks, guys. I hope that helps get your DFS lineups together, get you some betting thoughts. And as always, if you like what I'm doing, click the like, share it. Also, don't forget to tell me who you think is going to win the U.S. Open and subscribe to get into the Millie Maker, the $100 entry Millie Maker, not the $20 crazy one. That's 170,000 people entering. And then anything I can help you with, hit me up to Twitter, DFS Golf Guru. All right, I'll have my value play show out tomorrow, which will get you everything you need to know before the lock. So make sure you check that out and also give you some more value plays, which technically I've already given you guys a couple of value plays, but you know what? I'm moving them up to my top 15 because I think they're better than some of the guys that are a little more expensive. All right, talk to you guys later. Take care.